Right then, we'll get going. So thank you all for being here today. So some of you already know me, and some of you it's the first time you've come to see me, so thank you for being here. I'm Debbie, I'm a therapist and a therapy trainer, and I'm trained in lots of different modalities. And when I work with people, I work at lots of different levels. Sometimes it's mental, sometimes emotional, sometimes physical, sometimes it's energetic or spiritual. And the more work I've been doing over the years, we're looking more and more at energetic boundaries, about well-being, about healing ourselves, and also the importance of being protected. That's all right. So what I want to discuss with you today is psychic self-defense. Now, for some of you, this will be useful for your day-to-day life in terms of the interactions you have, whether it's with your family or friends. For others of you, it will benefit you when you are out and about in day-to-day life. And for some of you, it may be more in a spiritual sense that you're interested in this. Whatever level you're coming at it from is fine. You can use the different techniques and things I'm discussing to help and support you. So I don't know about any of you in here, but I am quite empathic. I tend to feel other people's energies a lot. So when I come somewhere like this, it can be a little bit of a nightmare. I love it and I can feel really energised, but also at times I can feel quite depleted. And it's because I tend to pick up on different feelings and emotions that are around me. So going into, say, Lincoln city centre, I will come back and I will feel drained because there is too many other people. I live in the middle of nowhere now because I haven't got other people's energies around me and I can cope with that better. Sometimes it's at a more personal level. So you will have those people that you know. Some of them make you feel wonderful when you're around them. You feel energised, you feel positive. There's a lady stuck outside. I'm just going to help her. Oh, thank you. And everything will feel joyful. You like connecting in with those people. You have other people in your life who are energy drains. They contact you and say, oh, I'm just popping round for a cup of tea, or they catch you in the street and half an hour later you're still stuck with them. And they go away feeling like you've topped them up and you end up feeling completely worn out, flat and frustrated. They're the sorts of day-to-day situations where this psychic self-defense is really useful. Also, a number of you here will be working spiritually. And it's really important when you're doing that to have your energy nice and strong so that you're bringing in the highest and the purest to assist you with what you're doing. And there are different layers to this. So the first thing, and lots of you will have heard this, is grounding. In our day-to-day lives, we tend to get so busy and so in our heads that we get a bit panicked, we get stressed, we get overwhelmed. And as soon as that starts to happen, we're either living in the past or we're so focused on the future, we're no longer in the present. And when that happens, we start to disconnect from our surroundings and what's going on. And that can leave us all a bit discombobulated, and that's where we can get, that's the word for it, a bit sidetracked. Things can then throw us off centre and end up taking us in directions we don't want to go. So one of the most important things is to make sure you are grounded on a daily basis. I tend to forget to do that quite often, and it's my husband that says, Debbie, just come here, and he's got a really grounding energy, and he'll either hug me or put his hands on my shoulders and just bring me back to earth. However, he's not always around to do that. I'm like a kite, I go off floating and he keeps me tethered. So one of the easiest ways to do that is to imagine you're a tree and you just start taking some nice deep breaths. And as you take those nice deep breaths, you alter your physiology. So standing with your shoulders back and relaxed, neck up, head up, and you focus on imagining there's some roots coming out of the soles of your feet and just allowing them to go into the ground as you slow your breathing down and you imagine those roots going all the way into the ground and connecting you. And it takes a little bit of practice, but it helps to bring you back to the here and now. And those people that are not so open to the energetic or spiritual, physiologically, if you're slowing your breathing, that settles your body, it settles your mind. Focusing on those roots gives you something to think about other than what's going on. And as I do that, I like to imagine the roots going all the way down to the centre of the earth and just soaking up some nice grounding energy. And you can do this anywhere. You can be stood here now, I'm doing it automatically, I can feel my feet becoming heavier and heavier. You can go into a toilet at work, it only takes a few moments, and you're just back in the present moment. So grounding yourself. Another technique which I've done on videos before in these talks is tapping. So a quick way to rebalance your energy, tap on the side of your hand, index finger, collarbone, tongue to the roof of your mouth and tap your upper lip, chin, upper lip, other index finger, side of your hand, and then just sweeping from one side of your body to the other to get the energy crossing. Grounding. Ground yourself whenever you need to. Next thing is protection. So if you are coming across all of these energies, particularly if you are empathic or spiritual, you're very open. And there are lots of people that do spiritual practices that do not protect their energy. And when you do that, you're inviting anything in. And you can become drained. It's almost as if there will become some cords attached to you where just the energy is being sucked away. And as your energy starts to be sucked away, you start to become depleted and worn out. So it's really important that you're keeping your energy nice and strong and protected. And there's loads of different ways to do this. And a lot of it is through imagination. Because you see, our thoughts have intent, they're powerful. And when we put our intention onto something, that's where our energy goes, and that's what helps us. So one way of doing that is simply imagining you have got a bubble around you. And it's a bubble that only allows the positive in, a bit like osmosis, and it pushes all the negativity out and nothing can get in. Some people see it as a colour, some people just sense it. And one of my favourite times I did this is my husband and I went to a concert a few years ago, a rock concert, and I was quite heavily pregnant and I didn't really like the crowds. And we had to go down these steps to get out and there was everybody around us and I was like, I can't cope with this, it's too hot and it's too stressful. And so I imagined this big bubble around us and the weirdest thing happened. All of a sudden going around these steps, we just had a gap of a metre all the way around us where no one was stood near us. You'd think we maybe really smelled or something if you didn't know what was actually going on. And we walked out and I felt better. Other people sense it and feel it. It might be that you want to do something different. One of my children imagines a suit of armour. They put their suit of armour on and they are protected. And they have their shield there to defend themselves. You can do whatever you want. You might want to put a Harry Potter invisibility cloak on around you. But it's setting that intention that your energy belongs to you and that other energies are separate from you. Also with protection, you're calling in your internal resources. You may wish to call in external protection. And some of you will already do that by, say, calling in Archangel Michael or your guardian angels. What I would always say is if you're calling in anything external, you ask only for the highest and the purest. If you're asking for help from anything, you might not necessarily get something that is good coming in. Sometimes I do energetic work dealing with darker energies, and they tend to trick or manipulate. And they might say, yes, I'll help you in this specific scenario, but the exchange in that contract is then I can siphon your energy whenever I want. You don't want that because it makes you feel poorly. So that is where it's really important if you're asking for any guides, any beings of light to come in, any angels, you ask for only the highest and the purest, and you use your discernment. Just like in day-to-day life, if you were having a conversation with somebody that gave you the creeps or made you feel uncomfortable, you wouldn't interact with them. It's the same with any spiritual beings that you're interacting with. If they make you feel any way uncomfortable, they're not of the highest and purest. Likewise, if you can hear them, if they are telling you that not very nice things about yourself or belittling you, they're not good, they're not of the highest and purest. You send them on their way. And always with any spiritual beings, free will is paramount. Highest and purest beings will never violate your free will. That is your highest contract. If anything comes in and tries to be overly forceful with you or manipulative, then it's got its own agenda and that is not for your benefit. A higher, purer being will never come in and try and force you, and it will not intervene unless you ask for that intervention. Likewise, a higher being will never ever take offence if you say, actually, I want you to step away from me. And what I'd also say is don't allow things into your energy. Your energy is your energy, and nothing should be taking your energy or stepping into you, either talking through you, moving through you. That's where it can start to become all a bit stagnant and a bit polluted. And that's where cleansing comes in. So in day-to-day life, we do pick up energies. It's inevitable because we're interacting. So at a more scientific level, we are all atoms and molecules. We are all vibrating. And we like to think of ourselves as being a solid boundary, and we're not. So I'm in contact with the air around me here. That air is then in contact with all of you. So our energies are intermingling. That's not always good. Sometimes it can be really helpful, other times it can be a problem. And sometimes what it means is you end up picking up energetic debris, bits of rubbish basically in your aura, your electromagnetic field, that if they're not cleansed and got rid of over time, they can make you feel unwell. And things that can let you know that perhaps you're energetically imbalanced are things like feeling fatigue, feeling overly stressed and worried, all sorts of physical ailments appearing, insomnia, lack of interest in the world. And obviously some of these things can be physiological, some of these things can be explained in other ways, but particularly if it starts to come on suddenly and get progressively worse, it is likely that your energy has become polluted or there's something draining your energy. And that is where it's really important to cleanse yourself often. Just in the same way that you go and have a shower or a bath to clean your physical body, you need to practice energetic hygiene to clear and charge your energy. And there are loads of ways to do that. Sometimes I like to get in the shower and just say, water, water, wash away all the negative energy. Please cleanse, balance and restore me. And I put the intention there that it's washing anything off. Other times I might meditate. And one of the things I'll often do when I'm meditating is I'll do something called cutting cords. And I'm sure some of you will already do this. Now the idea is when we've got energy, our energy goes out beyond us and it connects to other things. And other people's energy will also connect and intertwine with ours. Sometimes that can be a good positive interaction. However, sometimes people can start to drain you. They can start to take more of your energy. So all you do is you get yourself nice and relaxed. You close your eyes and either you ask a higher being of light to come in or you do it yourself and you notice the cords. There might be one cord between you and one specific individual. There might be many. And you may or may not see where they come from. What you do is you get some sort of implement, whether it's shears, whether it's scissors, whether it's a knife, whatever it is, and you sever it all around you, and then you heal yourself so that energy cannot reattach. And your imagination's the only limit to this, really. It might be that you imagine there's healing light going to those areas. It might be that you stitch them up. It might be that you tie a knot in it at your end. It might be that you put a healing cream on yourself. But once again, it's your energy. You then need to go to the other end, sever the connections at the other end, do the same, put healing on the other person so it cannot reattach. Then you destroy the cords. And once again, you can do that however you want. So you might imagine putting them on a bonfire. You might imagine sending them on a rocket to space. You might imagine chopping them up into bits and pieces and throwing them in the rubbish. It doesn't matter. It's that intention of actually we're disconnecting that negative energy. And then you put some sort of seal and protection around yourself and around the other person, so it might be a bubble of love or light. And that's what I tend to do, so that if I should come into contact with that being again, we simply bounce off and away, and that love and that light resonates through both of us. And when you're doing anything like this, never ever send out any harm to anyone else, because if you're sending out harm, that will come back to you, because we are all connected. Now, these different connections can take place in different ways. Sometimes it can be intentional, other times it's just by accident. So sometimes it is you just cross paths with somebody and you pick up a bit of their energy. Other times it might be through thought. And I'm sure most of you have probably had a time where somebody's really annoyed you, really irritated you, and you've started ruminating on it, playing it around in your head. Oh, I can't believe they said that, and I can't believe they did that. How dare they? Oh, I'm so cross at them. That thinking creates a connection to that other person. And the more you focus on it and the more you build on it, the stronger that connection is going to become. And I've had it the other way around frequently. So every so often someone will start popping into my head over and over again. And I'll know that that's because that person is thinking about me. And I need to just cut any negative connections there. Sometimes if somebody's feeling very angry at you or hateful, that can come as a very strong energetic attack because their thoughts and intentions are focused on that negative. And that is where you need to keep cleansing your energy and putting that protection in. So years ago when I was in employment, the head teacher I had at the time was cross at me one day. And I could feel that, and I thought, okay, if I don't put a strong energetic block in here, I'll lose my job. So I imagined a really strong wall of light between us, so that any negativity that she was thinking or sending just bounced back. And I put in the intention that as it bounced back, it would transmute into love and healing for her, so that she could feel better should she choose to accept it. Now that's always the caveat I follow, that should the individual choose to accept it, because we always have to be respectful of free will. We can't force somebody else to take healing or love or light because they may not want it and they may not be ready for it. And actually she left me alone for a while after that. If you're ever going into a meeting or anything uncomfortable, put your protection up, whatever it is. Sometimes I will imagine that I've got light around me and then I stick mirrors all around that so I look like a great big disco ball. And the idea is then any negativity that's sent ricochets back to its owner and it transmutes into something positive that they need and it doesn't harm me. Hope this is all making sense so far. So sometimes it's thought forms. So if you catch yourself thinking negatively about another person or another situation, you may end up attracting that into your life. If you don't want that, cancel it. So sometimes if I've had a situation, let's say I'm driving along and somebody cuts me up, I might be thinking, oh, how dare they do that? As soon as I catch myself, I just say, cancel, clear, delete, thank you. And then I make a conscious effort to think something positive. Once again, your intention drives it, it cuts that connection. You can't necessarily influence what somebody's sending to you, but you can choose whether you're accepting it or receiving it. Other times, it may be something supernatural that is wanting to attach. And that does happen. So in my work, I didn't ever choose this as my work, it just ended up happening. I started getting individuals coming with attachments. So either spirits had not successfully gone into the light for one reason or another, or darker things, things that would class themselves as demonic, or things that would class themselves as other types of beings that were either attached to a person's energy or would be within them. And with that, I had to work out how and why that occurred and what needed to happen to disconnect those energies. Once again, taking into account free will. Now, what tended to happen is sometimes there would be a mutually beneficial relationship had taken place at one point or another. Perhaps somebody was in a point of despair and they'd asked for help, and something had come in initially wanting to help them, but then over time had become possessive. So I had one lady who had, at 8 years old, was frightened. She saw lots of spirits and she asked for help. And this gentleman's spirit came in to help her and protect her. However, as she got older, he became a bit possessive and he didn't want her having any relationships with any other living man or any other man. And so every time she was in a relationship, he would sabotage it. He would make her poorly, he would give her urinary tract infections, cause all sorts of havoc and stress, so she couldn't settle down. So that was one of those things, they'd made a contract and agreement with each other, but it was no longer serving her. So I had to work with both parties to basically terminate a relationship. So she needed some healing to feel brave and ready to be on her own without this person that had been with her for 40 years. He needed to be ready to let her go and recognise that he wasn't fulfilling the original contract anymore. He was no longer protecting her and instead was causing her harm. And once we'd done that, he went off into the light. Sometimes I don't really like my job when it happens like that, because sometimes it can be a little bit scary. Sometimes things come in by accident and it's unintentional. Other times things can be very deliberate and they can be very malicious. So I've had things before that they're coming in and they want a person's soul. They want to destroy their lives. You don't want that. So it's easier to maintain strong, positive protection and clearing on a regular basis so that that doesn't form. things that tend to occur that allow things in is if we're very depleted and run down energy-wise anyway, if we've been very poorly, addictions, suicide, other things like that that can allow stuff in. Doesn't always happen, but it can. If you start to feel your behaviour changing and you can't put it down to something normal, it could be that something's attached, but by going through this process of cleansing yourself regularly, it helps to keep anything at bay. And if you do need more help, there are people like me out there that can shift stuff on, should you want. But it's best not to allow them in to start with. So if you do think you have something like that, you go back to that free will choice. Free will is always your highest contract. You've got a contract with Source that you are entitled to your free will. Whether it's a physical person, whether it's an energetic being, they're not allowed to violate your free will. So no matter what agreement you've made with anyone else in the past, if it is violating your free will, you've got a choice to end that contract at any time. And you can say, actually, any contracts I've made with you explicitly or implicitly are now null and void, past, present and future, throughout time, throughout space, throughout all dimensions and all realities. Because you're entitled to have your own life, you're entitled to have your own energy, it's yours. And what you may need to do in those scenarios is call your energy back to you. And once again, that's just simply meditating and reflecting. And you just ask about any energy that anybody, any person, any being that has been taken from me at any point in my existence, I now call it back to me. And I now release with love any energy that does not belong to me. And you might see that happening, or you might feel it and get a sense of knowing. And then once that's done, you just thank you for doing that. Covered quite a lot in quite a whistle-stop tour there. What I am doing at the moment, because a lot of people come to me for help with this often, is just how to protect themselves energetically on a day-to-day basis. I am in the process of recording lots and lots of different techniques of how to cleanse yourself, how to cleanse your house, how to heal, how to protect. I will be releasing that at some point over the next few months, and so if anyone's interested, I will let you know. I'm not very technical, so it's taken me a long time to edit videos and upload them. If you do need help, come and have a chat to me. I think it's something that in day-to-day life, we're not taught how to protect our energies. We're not taught that our energy is ours. We're not taught that we have free will. So it's important to remember those things. And if I can be of any further assistance, just let me know. Has anyone got any questions? Because I think, yes.
I love what you're talking about. I work in public relations, but I also do psychic readings with people. Mm-hmm. And I think this is such an important topic because so many people right now have their energy taken away from them.
Yep.
And there's a lot of psychic attack on people.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my partner have had psychic attack from someone for 4 years.
Wow.
Which has been really vicious. Mm-hmm. So I will talk to you about that.
Yep.
And this is paid for crap, so it's like witchcraft, and they go to other people to do that, and it's more prevalent in certain cultures than it is, and it's horrible. It is horrible
because actually
disgusting.
It can have horrific impacts on people, and when those sort of that black magic and those curses are
and you're forever trying to fight it off, and I can feel it. I can feel my third eye going funny. I can.
Yeah.
And we've been to so many people for protection.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
We are winning, but sometimes you just want to give up. It's hard.
And I think that's the thing, you can't necessarily stop where it's coming from, but what you can do is you can protect and send back. But also, you've got to remember, if people are deliberately sending that darker energy out, it is going to go back to them at some point, and it will go back stronger to them. So I'd say if anybody's ever tempted to do anything like that, they're angry or jealous or annoyed, don't put any negative spells on anybody, don't put any negative curses on anyone, because it will come back to you, whether it's in this life or a future lifetime. You'll have repercussions, and it does you more damage than anyone else. So yeah, we'll have a chat about that. But bless you, really hard situation. And some of you might not need to deal with this very often at all. It might be that once a week you just think, I'm just going to have 10 minutes sort of cleansing my energy, making myself feel nice and protected, or you might use it if you're just going into a job interview or occasionally. For others of you, it might be you think, I'm going to the supermarket and it's a bit busy, I'm just going to do something. People like me, I have to put it in constantly, and I find that really tiring, but that's because part of my role is to deal with the darker stuff, and also I'm dealing with lots of people's complex emotions. So I'm doing it all the time. And it just varies from person to person what you need. One really simple thing you can do, which takes seconds, is zip up. So you just imagine sort of around sort of pubic area a zip, and you just zip it up to your chin, and that locks your energy into place and it helps to strengthen it. So keep doing things like that. It takes seconds. I do it whenever I'm going into anywhere. Sit myself up. Done. Has anyone got any other questions? It can be quite a lot to take on board. Some of you it might have resonated and some of you might have thought, what a load of nonsense. And to be honest, I'd have probably been one of those people maybe 10 years ago. I'd have been like, that is beyond ridiculous. I can't see it, I don't understand it. And it's only through experience I've had to become more and more open and aware of these things. So yeah, take it at whatever level is right for you. Yeah. So thank you ever so much for your time. Thank you for coming to see me.